Hello, welcome to my second podcast. The topic for today is questions I have no business asking. There are certain questions I have no business asking, as everybody knows, mostly because they are not about other people's lives, and I am fundamentally not that interested in other people. I don't mean that in a cruel way. I care about people. No, I'm a teacher. I hope they are healthy. I hope they are happy. I just don't necessarily want the full report. Some people ask, how was your weekend? And genuinely want to know. I ask, how was your weekend? Because society has rules. But despite my limited curiosity about other people, I do have questions. Very strong questions. Questions I have absolutely no right to ask. For example, why don't you have a dream? I know. A terrible question. Very judgmental. Very inappropriate. But still, I want to know it. Not everyone needs a grand dream. I understand that. Some people want peace. Some people want stability. Some people want a nice meal, a comfortable chair, and no unexpected phone calls. That is a valid dream. But sometimes I meet people who don't seem to want anything beyond what is immediately possible. Not impossible things, not even difficult things, just anything that has not already been approved by reality. They look at life as if reality is a strict parent. Can I do this? Reality says no, and they say, all right, thank you for your time. No appeal, no negotiation, no emotional outburst in the parking lot. Nothing. I find this deeply confusing because I have spent most of my life arguing with reality. Reality says, that seems unlikely. And I say, you don't know me. Reality says, we have met many times. And I say, this time is different. It usually isn't, but still. I appreciate the conversation. Then there are people who only think about practical things, money, housing, insurance, retirement. The price of vegetables? They are not wrong. In fact, they are usually much more correct than I am. They know interest rates. I know the emotional history of a fictional woman who died in 1925. So clearly, they have an advantage. But sometimes I want to ask, is reality the only thing worth thinking about? Reality is important. But reality has terrible imagination. If we only thought about what already exists, we would still be sitting in caves saying, oh, this cave is fine. Someone would suggest a house and another person would say, let's be realistic. And then there is aging. This is where my questions become especially impolite. Why do some people talk about aging as if it is a long administrative decline? The needs, the blood pressure, the pension, the hospital, the funeral. They plan aging like a badly reviewed package tour. First, your eyesight goes, then your joints, lunch is included. I understand that aging is not entirely cheerful. I have entered the age when my body produces new symptoms without consulting me. I know the situation. But why focus only on deterioration? Why not ask, what will I understand at 60 that I couldn't understand at 40? What kind of person might I become at 70? What could become lighter? What could become funnier? What might I finally stop pretending to care about? There must be at least one advantage to getting older besides receiving discounts. My brother-in-law and sister-in-law tend to be more realistic than I am. That is the polite version. The less polite version is that sometimes they speak as if hope is a suspicious financial product. Any new idea must be investigated. Any possibility must provide documents. Any dream must show proof of income. And I have complaints, many complaints. Beautifully organized complaints. Complaints with categories. Complaints with subheadings. But here is the uncomfortable part. Maybe my frustration is not really about them. Maybe it is about me. Maybe people who live cautiously make me nervous because they remind me that my own dreams may fail. Maybe their realism feels like criticism even when they are not criticizing me. Maybe I want them to dream because then my dreaming feels less ridiculous. That is annoying. I preferred it when this was their problem. The truth is, people do not owe me ambition. They do not owe me optimism. They do not owe me an inspiring attitude toward aging. They are allowed to want a small life. They are allowed to protect themselves from disappointment. They are even allowed to discuss insurance for 45 minutes. Although I do think there should be a warning before that conversation begins. Still, I keep asking these questions. Why don't you want more? Why do you only trust what is practical? Why do you imagine old age only as loss? And perhaps the question underneath all those questions is, why don't you see life the way I do? Which is a ridiculous question, because they're not me. And honestly, one of me is enough. So these are questions I have no business asking. But I ask them quietly, inside my head, with great confidence and absolutely no authority.